our Fireside Chat. We have a extremely special show for you today. As a person whose last name is Bahamundi, I asked Maggie to pronounce her last name for me, so I'm hoping I'm getting it right again. So one of our guests today is Maggie Guterl, and we'll also be joined by Aliza LaPierre. Now, they don't need much introduction, as most of you know who they are from their time spent in trail and ultra running. And we're going to get into the hows and the whys of ultra running with them and trail running, get to know them a little bit more personally. But if you have any questions or comments for them as the show is going on, please drop them in the comments. We'll be sure to address them as time permits us. So without further ado, let's bring Maggie and Aliza forward.
But I'm going to move you guys to the top.
Look at that. It's like we're a professional show here. Who would have thought it?
Who would have thought?
Maggie and Aliza, thank you so much for joining us. In one of the questions that we asked to break the ice is about pineapple on pizza. So Maggie, I'm going to ask you first, is pineapple on pizza a yay or a nay?
Sorry, but it's a yay for sure. Oh, very enthusiastic.
Oh, yes.
I'm so sorry, but it's so good.
We just had this conversation in the green room. I was not expecting
I know what good pizza is, and I like pineapple on it. As long as there's something salty to complement it, even weirder, I like pineapple and black olive. That's my go-to.
I am at a loss for words. I should just get off.
Sorry.
That was such a great, not gonna lie, had me in the first half.
It's a perfect heel turn in the WWE right there. Aliza, your take on pineapple on pizza, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down.
Yes!
Does not belong.
Right in the trash. Don't pass go, right in the trash.
It's like a brunch item, not a pizza item for sure.
Yes.
You can have brunch pizza.
Brunch pizza. It was funny, the last person we had on the show didn't even have to answer the question. When we asked the question, they were like, pineapple on pizza? Like they never heard of it.
Oh, wow.
They were from Switzerland, right near the Italian border. So the idea of pineapple on pizza is just not even a thought, right? So that's
that's a super American thing to do, I think.
So I want to jump into questions with you guys. And Aliza, you just finished Cocodona. Maggie, you've got Hard Rock coming up. These are not, events that are going to take place and have you running for 30 minutes to 60 minutes. They're going to take hours upon hours. In the case of Cocodona, days. So Maggie, I'll address you with this question first. How do you balance all of the training with your work? You work at Tailwind and other components of your life. How do you figure out how to balance all of this stuff? Is it spreadsheets? Is it, a system? How do you make that work for you?
Yeah, it's not always perfect, but for me, the most important workouts of every week, I need to get it in the morning. I'm like a morning person. Things happen. Sometimes I haven't run doubles in a really long time, but I like to work out in the afternoon. Things happen. Sometimes you're just literally mentally so exhausted. That's happened to me a lot lately that I'm so fried. I don't want to do anything. So everything gets done in the morning. And I think, just prioritizing the important parts and then giving yourself a little bit of grace and be cool, you know what? I have a full-time job. I can't do everything. And if you're just too exhausted or there's something else you might want to be doing that spend time with your dog or whatever, to be okay, just skip that second workout or whatever. So yeah, I mean, Aliza, I respect a ton because she performs at such a high level and also has a full-time job. We both work for nutrition companies, which I think is funny.
We won't ask about products on this show.
They're both good. I love maple syrup, actually.
I will confess I've used both, and I've used Untapped for a super long time. I think when it first came out, I started using Untapped, and I'm burying the lead. For those of you that don't know, Aliza works for Untapped Maple, the nutrition company as we're talking about here. So Aliza, for you, are there any other things that you do that Maggie didn't address in terms of trying to balance all of this stuff? Because again, this stuff is hard. I tell people when we interview them, this stuff is hard. And so now you're trying to balance work, life, friends, family, all of this, and then compete at the highest of levels as well. Like, how do you make it work for you?
Yeah, I'm very similar in Maggie in that I do my key workouts before work. So basically figure out what time I have to start work and then start doing the backwards math. Like Maggie, we both work for nutrition companies, so oftentimes we're on the road at expos or events or just elsewhere. So I mean, there's literally times where I'm in a different state and I'm getting up at 3 in the morning and going running, on roads or trails that I've never been on before. But that's part of the commitment, and that also sort of keeps it fresh and exciting. But it is a huge time commitment for me. I've kind of found like the sweet spot of how much training per hours of training per week I need to perform at events. But there's definitely sacrifices that are made with my family and friends, and sometimes in order for my friends or family to spend time with me, it means they're coming out and doing part of my run with me. My husband will come out and run, a couple hours with me. He'll bring the dog. So we're kind of, making it work and getting some time in that way, which isn't ideal, but it's better than nothing. But it's a lot of just time management, and there's not a lot of downtime. There's not time just to be scrolling on your phone or just lounging on the couch. It's really like maximizing what time you do have in the day.
Does it feel, and I'll ask you this, Aliza, when you're trying to maximize every minute of every day in that scenario, does it feel overwhelming at times? And you're like, you know what, today's going to be the day that I just sit on the couch and put my feet up a little bit.
There are certainly days where I feel like doing that, and then there's days where I need to do that. And it's sort of like I have to differentiate between the two. Wanting to do that and needing to do that are very different. If it's something I want to do, then maybe I'll go a little bit shorter on my run, and I'll take that half an hour leisure time on the couch instead of getting in my full run. If it's something I feel like I need to do, then I just ping my coach and sort of like, hey, my body and my system, whether it's mental or physical or emotional, are telling me, I need this time off from running. And usually that's a pretty good indicator that I have sort of overdone it and I'm getting pretty close to overtraining. And, 1 or 2 days off isn't going to make or break your training. It usually helps you rather than hinders you. So that's my approach with that is, if you really do feel like you need a day off for whatever reason, you should probably take it.
So Maggie, for you, we're about 2-3 months away from Hard Rock, and I'm presuming that the key workouts are coming up right now. Are there moments in these upcoming weeks where you're like, come hell or high water, I've got to get these in. I got to figure out a way to make it work so that I can get these key workouts in.
Yeah, we're less than 2 months out. 12 is the date. I've just returned to kind of any kind of volume, creeped up on 40 miles a week, I hit 60 miles a week or whatever, 60 something. And I've been kind of mixing in some cycling. I figured, I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to do Hard Rock kind of this winter. So I signed up for a 50-mile road cycling race here in Durango that's called the Iron Horse. It's classic.
Yeah.
It's like something you have to do when you live in Durango just once. And I feel like this is the winner because I did a lot of indoor cycling. It's for anyone who doesn't know, it's 50 miles. It's from Durango to Silverton over the passes. There's almost 6,000 feet of climbing in it. I don't know. There's Olympian athletes here, the cyclists. So great. Whatever. I don't know why I signed up for this. But then, I was able to start running a little bit more I was like, oh, I just want to be running. So I haven't cycled as much, but it's still been part of my repertoire of training. So we'll see. I'm going to survive. And then, as for the key workouts that are coming up, I think because I haven't been doing a lot of vert and a lot of workouts and haven't been able to run fast, it's super important for me to get in some of the key things. Now, I plan to be undertrained for hard rock because I'd rather be undertrained than the condition I was when I got there 2 years ago in 2022, which was semi-wrecked and injured.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I know we chatted about in the green room, was about like injury and being at 43 now, and also going back to hard rock and incorporating cycling into your repertoire. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like the journey it's been the last couple years and the road back. I guess the road from that injury to finding this new evolution as an athlete where you are incorporating all these things into your repertoire now with like cycling and strength, and just wanted to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like, when you asked in the beginning of the pre-show thing, what are your other interests? Like, I felt like I didn't have any other interest until like, a few years ago, I just loved running so much. That's all I wanted to do was like running or slow running in the mountains. And being injured, like you can either go insane or find some other things to like fill your time. And I actually started really like enjoying them, and they're still part of my routine. I really got into climbing. They opened a climbing gym here. And yeah, I felt like strength was important just because it's important not to be injured. I think that a lot of runners neglect that. I know that a lot of the kind of like maintenance strength things are really boring with the band work, and those are all important. But I think lifting heavy is super important, especially for women as they get older, to keep muscle on and things like that. So I'm super psyched to have build that in, and it's not something I want to like let go, which is also why I only have so many hours in a day. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to just run. So yeah, maybe instead of running for 3 hours today, I run for 2 hours in the morning and I do a 1 hour workout after work. So that's kind of, and I'm totally fine with that. Like, I was pretty stoked. I PR'd my deadlift. Like I had to set this goal for myself last winter, or no, this whatever time I said it, I don't remember, but I was like, I want to deadlift like twice my body weight, and I reached that like in February, and I was like so excited. I don't know if I can still do that because I haven't been doing as much deadlifting, and I don't know that it's super helpful for like when you get closer to a race, but it's cool to have like achieved something else and have and I don't know, I kind of encourage any runner that's like all about running and just all they do is run to kind of like explore other interests and things you might love, so that when you are injured, it's not so devastating. I mean, it's terrible regardless, but I was lost. Like I was like, this is terrible. And then you kind of just don't do anything because you're like, I don't have anything else to do. I didn't really love cycling or whatever. There's people who are like, I'm gonna row or cycle or whatever. It was just hard to get into it, and now I love all those things. So
yeah. That's just it's super cool to hear that you PR'd your deadlift and you've kind of found like this passion and fun in like different areas outside of running, and it's like created this like balanced attack going into the next hard rock, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
Hold on a second, Om. Like,
yeah.
For everybody else, like, don't sleep on that band work. I used bands for the first time in like forever earlier this week, and I was like, okay, my left hip does not work whatsoever.
I second that.
It's tough. It's like you got to do all of it. Like it's not like, I think it's all really important.
Yeah, band work is it surprised me. I was gonna say pleasantly, but I'm like, it unpleasantly surprised me with how tough it actually is. You can get like, so I think my takeaway there is like, if there's anything, like if you don't have the resources to do the other things, like band and body work can definitely like really kick your butt and like get you into running shape, even if it's 10-15 minutes. And I do appreciate that both of you kind of mentioned in different ways with your training, kind of the all or something mindset versus the all or nothing mindset. Cause I think that that is difficult for a lot of people, like to find that they can't do the workout and then scrap the whole thing, versus you guys saying that there's sacrifices, but we make it work somehow and we stay consistent. And that's just really cool to hear. Aliza, I have a question for you. Since we were talking about different repertoires, it's something, or different sports, it's something we talked about in the green room, and it's ice hockey. Like, I think that I'm always fascinated by like how many similarities there are between sports and like what carries over as far as intangibles and what doesn't carry over. So I'm curious as to like with ice hockey, what's similar and what's different?
Yeah, I started playing ice hockey when I was 5 years old, and I grew up playing with the boys until I was, I think, a junior or senior in high school. So I think I just developed a really strong work ethic and drive from an early age because I kind of always felt like I was a bit targeted because I was the girl. So I always wanted to sort of have a little bit more speed and agility and puck handling skills. So even if I was targeted, I could sort of, outdo everybody on the ice, or at least out hustle them. Certainly wasn't the most skilled player, but I was willing to outwork people, which was really helpful. So I think my work ethic and drive as a kid was quite large. Even at like 5 years old, my parents built me an ice rink in our backyard, and I'd be out there, skating and stick handling and shooting pucks until it was time for bed. I'd be playing street hockey with the neighbors and just always looking to like up my game to the next level, which, when I came to the sport of running also was true. I was always willing to sort of try to learn from others and try to improve my craft, and just always looking to maybe not be the most skilled, but to be the hardest worker out there. And then, as you grow up and you start playing higher levels, you are playing a team sport, but you really have to think as an individual too, to be addressing your strengths and weaknesses, because if you're not getting it done at the college Division I level, then they're going to put somebody in who is going to get it done. So, even as a runner, I can take a serious look at, what's going well for me and what's not, and be okay with addressing my weaknesses instead of just ignoring them, because they're very easy to overlook. And for me, some of that stuff is, the strength stuff. Especially as I get older, I too am 43 going on 44, and I can't sort of just rely on having that overall physical strength and not battling injuries, and I don't recover as quickly as I used to. So really, I think that I took that from hockey too, just addressing strengths and weaknesses and always trying to improve on both. So yeah, I think those are the two big ones for me.
One of the things you mentioned there, Aliza, was being the girl and having to overcome to compete with the boys.
Yep.
In today's society, right, there is a movement to get more equity for women in sport. What do you think still needs to be done, or what can be done to get that needle continued moving to the point where there is equity in sport, whether that's trail ultra running or endurance sports as a whole, triathlon, mountain biking, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough question, but I think that sports still aren't equitable. I think races have come a long way with making sure prize money is split equally. We've seen in live coverage across events that still we're focusing on the pointy end of the male coverage, and then, we kind of trickle back to the females, and we might catch the first couple females, but then we end live coverage because that's the time we had. But I think, numbers are increasing, more females are getting involved. It's sort of scary to take that first step and start something new and try something different and get out of your comfort zone. And, for females, sometimes it's hard to find the time, especially if you have a family and kids, but I think there's a lot that's being done, and I think there's still a lot of work to be done, but I look to people like Trail Sisters and Gina, who have really helped create a great environment for females to feel welcome, and to have resources from other females. And yeah, I think just the more we can support each other, the better. You know, I was just at Cocodona, and it was great. All the females were cheering each other on out there, taking, you know, a minute or two while they passed each other to check in, say hello, introduce themselves, check in, and then you know, go forward on their way. But you know, I think it's great when we can be out there supporting each other and competing at the same time. I think that speaks volumes.
That's awesome. Maggie, I'd pose the same question to you, but with a little bit of a twist, and ask about us as a media company, right? There are sponsor businesses and brands out there that can do things, but what about media companies like ours? Is there something that media companies like ours can specifically do to help raise awareness and raise the voices of women athletes across the endurance sports spectrum, so that brands can see them and races can recognize them and do something about moving the needle even more?
Yeah, I mean, it's featuring the stories, and like Aliza said, like, you know, maybe they'll just have a set amount of time, so naturally these more men will come in for the live coverage. And it's really just about like other people's interest in women's sports. So like, you know, brands want to make money. So like if people aren't interested in women's sports for whatever reason, like that women are not going to have as much value to that brand. So yeah, I mean, like featuring them more. I mean, Courtney just being Courtney has really made people pay attention. I think that ultra trail running is doing a little better than other sports. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I would agree with you.
I agree.
Yeah, I like. Okay, let's talk about, you know, Caitlin Fielder, the college basketball star. That like, yeah, I mean, they broke women's college basketball records, like attendance for games she played in that record like breaking game. And I watched this like little documentary on that, and the coach, you know, the coaches from both teams were like, "You're part of history. This may never happen again." And that's a wild sentiment to be like, yeah, these stadiums will never be that full again. Like they just want to see Caitlin or whatever. But the people like that who just like, it's crazy. You have to have like this female Michael Jordan of basketball come in to like get some attention. But I mean, hopefully that starts happening more and more. And I think the way we find those people is encourage like the next generation to run, you know, so you know, like Courtney will inspire people, Aliza will inspire people, and like little girls to just get into trail running. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, Ciara. She is a Black woman that lives in San Diego. She didn't realize like trail running was a thing. She saw another Black friend running. She then realized that trail running was something like she could do just because she saw someone that looked like her running on trails, which I'm like, dude, that just like, obviously we know, oh, representation is important, but like when you hear that, it really is. So that applies to like females. And you know, yeah, there's no bathroom lines at a trail 100 mile if you're a female, but like, you know, hopefully like just more and more women, it doesn't matter what pace you are, just to show up and to like, and Trail Sisters is great for that because I think there's a lot of fear of running on trails alone. I never had that fear, but I know that is a thing. It makes people nervous, makes women nervous. And so the organizations like that, or like groups like that are really cool. Another thing my friend Sarah is doing is signing up for her first trail ultra. And she wanted to get her whole community and group of friends to sign up. So that's what they're doing. And that's how she wanted to approach it instead of go do this scary big thing by herself. So like you could do that, you know, like these groups are really great. And I think women are super supportive in our sport. So I think that's really cool. I mean, I don't know what other sports are like. Like, I don't know if women are as supportive to other women in hockey, but I think like ultra running is really cool. And that, you know, like, I don't know if Aliza and I have ever been at the same race, but if we were, we would support each other, run with each other. And then, yes, it'd be a race, but like, I'm not going to crowbar her knee or something at mile 90 or anything.
No Tanya Harding's here.
No Tanya Harding in trail running.
That's good.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point, and I'll ask you, Maggie, to answer it first. And we talked about this in the green room a little bit, right? So you mentioned you and Aliza being at an event and chit-chatting, before the race. You're at the starting line. You've got a race strategy to execute, and the competitors around you, they do one of two things. They either haul ass and your race strategy is like, that's too fast, or they seem to not go out very fast and your race strategy is to go faster. What are you doing in that moment? What are you processing? How do you go about executing your race strategy for yourself, or are you looking at your competitors and what they're doing?
You're asking me this?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I would like to say the right answer is you always stick to your own race strategy, but that doesn't always happen. I mean, you could be like, I did that at Hard Rock. I mean, I went out, I was like, okay, I'm doing my pace, whatever. And then I get to Grand Swamp Pass, or like, climbing up to there, and I see Darcy, and I was like, I'm gonna catch up with her and run with her, and yeah, I don't know. I guess we kind of flip flop back and forth. She's really strong on the uphill. I could barely keep up, but I tried to. And I don't know if that was part of why I wrecked myself so bad getting to Uray, but she left me. It was fun to run with her, but I probably should have run my own race because it was my first time running it. She's run it like 9 or 10. That was like her 10th time running it. She's had more sub 30 finishes than any woman. She's been first or second every single time, except for that year. She had a really rough race, but yeah, I mean, I always try to stick to I also had, for me personally, my strategy is like the trying to kind of go fast in the beginning and like push it. Doesn't work. I know it works for other people. I don't know what Aliza's strategy tends to be, but I'm not fast. I relative to most elite women. I just can stay the same pace, and if that can work for me, then it's much better than just blowing up and taking like twice as long to finish the second half of the race.
Aliza, what's your approach in that scenario where competitors are not, either way faster than your race strategy or way slower than your race strategy?
I think my strategy has definitely changed over time. When I was younger, it was like, okay, I'm going out and, I want to be in one of those top positions, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be there. And if they're going to push, I'm going to push harder. And like Maggie said, that's, that can come back to bite you for sure. And it certainly did many times. But as I've gotten older and hopefully wiser, I kind of know my pace for an effort for a given distance, and I know how it should feel in, the first 40, 50, 60 miles. And, there's been a lot of times where in 100-mile, 200-mile, the gun's gone off and people have just like taken off, and I just look like a turtle, like, here I come, guys, like, all right, I swear I trained. But it's a pace, like Maggie said, I can just hold for the entire duration. And I just have to trust that I'm going to start picking people off in the back half. And, more often than not, that happens. I catch people who had maybe an hour plus on me or so, but they aren't really running, a sound race, or something happens. But yeah, I would say my strategy is definitely sort of like slow and steady and making sure that I've got enough oomph to get me all the way to the finish line.
I tend to follow the all gas, no brakes method of racing.
Yeah.
And sometimes the gas gets me to the finish line, and other times it leaves me at the 50K mark of the 100-miler on the side of the road.
And there's certainly points in the race, though. Sorry, go ahead, Maggie.
Yeah, sorry, Aliza. I mean, Zach Miller does that, and he knows that, it's going to bite him in the ass. 50% of the time, but people love it and I love it. Yeah. And like, if that's what you want to do, like, you know, there's no wrong way, right? Like,
I mean, but when he has a performance, man, does he have a performance? Like,
exactly.
It's stellar. And it's gutsy, and he's putting himself out there for everybody to see. And I enjoy watching it. But that method has not suited me well. And, you know, certainly I have my pace, and then later on in the race, it's like, okay, now I feel like, you know, I can start pushing. If I feel good on the downhills, I'll start pushing the downhills. You know, if I know somebody's close in front, it's like, okay, this is the time. If I want to try to make a move, this is where I do it. So there's, you know, sort of a time where I'm in my comfort zone, and then comes point in a time where it's like, okay, this is where we start taking some risks and pushing harder.
It's funny you mentioned Zach Miller, because I go and watch that Billy Yang documentary.
It's so good.
Every time I blow up, I'm like, okay, I know one guy who's doing it this way, and sometimes he's successful. Yeah. It just reinvigorates that mindset to just do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yo, he has just this crazy ability to like push beyond, like, you know, I mean, when he falls apart, like he falls apart like no one usually falls apart. It was the end of I don't know if it was in the Billy Yang movie Zach, you know, the whole feature length where he's like rolled onto a cart at the end of JFK and his black like hamstring softball thing, and I'm like, oh, how do you run that hard? And that's crazy. Those poor parents in the background have to watch that.
If that documentary on YouTube has like 1 million views, I'm probably like 800,000 of them. Just for that reason alone. It's like, you know, it takes a certain mindset to go through that process, especially at that level, right? At the level that you guys are competing at too, because sponsorships and brands and companies are all looking for finishes and podiums and things like that. And here's a mindset where he's like, fuck it. If I finish, I finish. If I win, I win. And if I don't, I don't. And it's somewhat refreshing for me as an age grouper, middle of the packer, to see somebody competing like that. And I know not everybody can do that, and I understand all of that stuff. And that's why I asked the question that I asked both of you, and I've asked other athletes at the top of their game, like, how do you control yourself knowing that there is sponsorship money potential or brand potential around the corner for you if you're able to be successful, you know, at getting on the podium, top 10, whatever it might be. When you see competitors either going way too fast compared to your strategy, or the other way, if you become, you know, the rabbit and everybody else is the turtle. And I find the mindset so interesting. So thank you both for answering that. I'll turn it back over to you now.
Yeah, it's amazing hearing about like different race strategies, and just that I was waiting for Jason to bring up all gas, no brakes, because that is like I've seen him do it like every single time we race together, and so far I've seen some interesting blow-ups, but I've also seen some come back. And
I got you to have pizza very early in the night when we were at Canyon, so that's a good thing, right?
that was a pretty good thing. One of the things that I do want to talk about a bit with both of you is just a bit about like your backstories. One thing that was touched upon, and all of you guys can find these interviews on our website at runtrimag.com. But during your interview, Aliza, you mentioned that that running was sort of the punishment. When did you have that shift in mindset where you started to enjoy long distance running?
You know, secretly, I enjoyed long distance running in high school when, for soccer, every year we'd have to do a 5-mile run sort of preseason to sort of test our fitness. And everybody complained about it. It was like, you know, I've never heard so much whining in my life. And I was like secretly stoked because I was like, oh, I can do really well at this. Like, I actually enjoy this. And every time we got punished for not performing well and have to run, I would like be happy about our punishment. But I would never admit it because, you know, everybody's supposed to hate running. And that held true up through college hockey. We oftentimes had to run for punishment. And again, I still enjoyed it, and I would, place really well, and like was pretty stoked about that. That's not something you like brag about, like, oh, I placed second in the punishment run. But then after college, it just sort of like, I just found my stride and sort of really found like peace within running, and calm, and just like, it was just like a sense of finding myself outside of a team environment. So it just kind of clicked naturally, which I was really happy with.
That's I like that there's kind of a natural progression into that. And also just love the as you know, I was like a bench warmer in some team sports, and I know Jason, you played baseball as well. And so it's always like I always get a good laugh out of hearing the running as a punishment thing, because it's really true. I'm sorry, you were gonna say something, Jason?
Yeah, I played football as well, and I would watch these kids running around the track around us, and I'd be like, "Why? Like, why are you doing that? It looks awful." And next thing you know, I'm registered for 100 milers, 250 miles.
It's funny you mentioned football. All I can think about is like suicides in basketball, on the court, just for missing free throws and stuff as a team. But yeah, here we are doing hundreds and 200s. So, Maggie, one of the things I want to ask you is, I've seen like you weren't always a runner, like not growing up. Like it's something that came to you sort of later in life. So, and it was kind of surrounding like making like big life decisions and big changes in life. So talk about your foray into running.
Yeah, I think since I wrote the answers, these like little things in memory have popped up that made me be like, maybe I have been this runner this whole time. And like, I liked it more than I remember liking. I don't know. I mean, I did track like in grade school, and then I didn't do anything in high school and college. I went to art school, so we didn't have any like sports teams. But I found this like picture I took of like, when you go back home at some point, and your parents like, here's all your childhood stuff we saved, like it's yours now. And I'm like, I don't want any of this stuff. So I went through and I probably threw all of it out, but I took a picture of this one handwritten note I wrote that I was thanking my parents for sending me to St. Agnes, which is the grade school I went to, because it has a great track team. And I loved running track or something. And I was like, oh, I didn't remember. Like, I remember loving running track, but I don't know, it didn't stick with me throughout my life. And then when Aliza was talking about running as a punishment or whatever and secretly liking it, I was in like, I was like 8th grade maybe. And I was on the volleyball team, and we weren't allowed to like practice until a certain time. Like you couldn't like preseason practice. I don't remember what the rules are, but our coaches, it was a husband and wife team, took us to the university, which is right near my house. And we ran a 5K, like in the cross country course or something. And no one was near me at the end. So the husband ran with me to like push me. And I was just me and him, like racing him. And, I remember being like, oh, that's really fun. And like I was so far ahead of everyone else, but like never occurred to me like that maybe I should try cross country, or like that was so far. Like I like the 200-meter dash or something. But yeah, like I picked up running, and then I think I like did it recreationally, like just keep my sanity. In college, my friend over the Brooklyn Bridge, we would go to Castro's, which is like this little famous little burrito place in Brooklyn. I don't know if it's famous, but it was legendary at the Pratt campus, because the burritos were like, Chipotle makes them look like little teeny like street burritos. These are huge, so we'd split like a burrito and drink. No one carded you. But it was super fun. It was like a little ritual that we would do. And then yeah, I mean, I didn't pick up running until like I was like 28 or 29 for real. But and then that was just like to pretty much shift my chain, like my whole lifestyle, because I was like, bartender, whatever, not running, no exercise. I don't know how I survived. That was horrible. But I think that's where it comes from, like suffering so bad, like, you wake up hungover every day, like, I don't know, running and feeling crappy after running, you at least get those endorphins, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty similar story in ultra running. It's not like super unique. And I think there's a reason to that. It's like you kind of just trade one terrible feeling for another, but there's like at least some kind of like good satisfaction of like, well, I accomplished this instead of like, I really didn't accomplish anything and I feel like crap, you know?
I was laughing because Aliza earlier responded with like, when you're at 40, 50, 60 mile mark of the race. And I was just thinking to myself, how absurd that must sound to let the general,
Yeah.
the general public's like, what do you mean when you're running at mile 50 or 60?
And you're just getting warmed up at that point.
Right.
I actually, like,
Go
I
ahead.
crewed a backyard this weekend. I crewed for a friend. I've run 4 backyards, and I've never crewed one. And watching them start each hour, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, they look ridiculous. What is this? It's so funny.
Which I find it hilarious too, because it has turned out to be like one of my favorite formats of racing. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's like the mental test of getting back to the start line in time and then being ready to go again. But it's just a completely different form of racing. And I've grown to love it. This past New Year's, I guess, whenever it was, I did the across the years one, and it was, I don't know, what's the loop, 1.2 miles or something like that?
It was like
That one seems harder.
It was way harder. It was way harder because I was like, okay, you can run a 10-minute mile, 9-minute mile, not a problem, right? But then after 1.2 miles, you're like, now I'm sitting here for 5, 7, 8 minutes. You're like, should I just walk? I found it way harder than doing the 4-mile run.
Yeah,
so much less time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was out there doing the 6-day, and I saw these guys starting their thing, and it was entertaining. Like, it was just because it was every 20 minutes they're just going on this 1.4 mile loop, and I just remember like, I think like 6 hours in, I'm like, where's Jason?
I was like, this sucks.
He pretended he couldn't make it a mile and put 1.2
exactly.
in the amount of time. Oh, it's too fast, too slow. I mean,
I wanted to go take a nap and eat my Impossible Whopper instead.
You got lost.
Yeah.
Maggie, did I miss something? Did you grow up in New York City?
No, I went to college in Brooklyn. I grew up outside of Philly.
Okay.
Maybe that's why I like pineapple on my pizza.
Yeah, like I thought you for a minute there. I was like, oh, she grew up in Brooklyn, man. What is she doing putting pineapple on her pizza? Sacrilegious.
No.
She's doing.
I'm in the 6th borough.
Pineapple on her pizza.
Maggie and Aliza, thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, we have a series of what we call rapid fire questions, but feel free to take your time to think about them. And they all revolve around food. So the first question I'm going to ask of Aliza, since we already know pineapple and black olives is Maggie's favorite pizza topping, what is your favorite pizza topping?
Oh, I would say like really good mushrooms.
Good answer. Maggie, this one's for you. First of all, are you a fan of Oreos?
Yeah, I like Oreos, yeah.
Are you the old school kind, the double stuff kind, this atrocity that they call the cakesters, or these crackers that they call thins?
I like, there's regular Oreos are fine. I have a friend that sends me the random Oreo flavors because I can always find them here. They're never really that good. But I just found Sour Patch Kid Oreos, and I sent her those. I'm not going to try them, so I'm waiting for the verdict on those.
Can't possibly be good. I'm sorry. It's just
No.
can't possibly be good.
Those
Aliza?
are like these Harry Potter jelly beans that they're just not good. Boogers and gin sock, like that's, just call it that.
Aliza, where do you land on the Oreo spectrum?
I am gluten-free, and they only have one version of that. So.
Yeah, the double stuff.
Yep.
Yep, those are in our house too. I love those myself. All right, Aliza, licorice. Are you a fan of licorice?
Absolutely not.
Well, that's easy. Maggie, how about you?
No. thumbs down.
No licorice fans here.
Disgusting.
Even the red ones? Like I get black
Yeah.
licorice, like that whole anisette or anise flavor is out for sure. But even the red ones,
No, color doesn't matter.
The black licorice is really disgusting. I mean, if I had to, I could eat one of like a Twizzlers thing, but I wouldn't. I literally think I would gag too much to eat the black licorice now.
Maggie, is candy corn a real candy or is it just earwax covered in sugar?
Second, that is gross. And I'm friends with Courtney. She loves candy corn. We've argued about this. It is disgusting. She loves it.
Courtney, if you ever watch this, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Aliza,
Yeah.
where do you land on the spectrum?
I'm with Maggie on this one.
How about Peeps? Aliza, are you a fan of Peeps or are they just marshmallows covered in glittery
No,
dust?
they're just like decorative play items, actually. I do enjoy like moving them around like figurines.
Maggie, how about you?
Yeah, they're pretty gross.
No,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, everything I hear about candy corn and Peeps, I'm always like, how are they still in business? And then I hear things like peep jousting and like figurines and like candy corn at my grandma's, and I'm like, oh, I'm starting to sort of get it.
Maggie, is red velvet cake a real flavor or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
Yeah, it's just red dye and chocolate. I think that's like legit what it is.
That's exactly what it is before. But Aliza, your take is?
My wedding cake was red velvet.
Oh no!
Did you pay extra for the red velvet part?
With a cream cheese frosting saves the day.
Edit this part out of the podcast.
Oh man.
Speaking of cream cheese frosting, because it's awesome on carrot cake. Aliza, are you a fan of carrot cake?
Oh, I love carrot cake.
Do you put nuts, raisins, or pineapple in your carrot cake?
I would be a raisin girl. Little bit of nuts, but not heavy on the nuts. Heavy on the frosting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maggie, what about you and carrot cake? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, I love carrot cake. It's healthy. It has carrots. I would put raisins and walnuts or nuts in them. But the pineapple's on my pizza, not in my carrot cake.
French fries, Maggie. Are you a waffle fry, steak fry, shoestring fry? What's the preferred method or tater tots for that matter?
Oh, if they're done right, I don't care what shape they're in. Like if they're crispy and like, it's really disappointing when you get like the rice fried fries, shoestring fries. Those are gross. Yeah, if they're done well, I don't care.
Aliza, what's the preferred method of French fry for you?
I really just see the French fry as like a tool for scooping condiments. So like Maggie said, as long as they're cooked properly, I don't really care as long as I can shovel as much like ketchup and barbecue sauce and all that goodness into my mouth.
Do you dip them in mayonnaise? Have you done that?
That is my husband does that, and he'll mix like ketchup and mayonnaise and make like a fancy sauce. But
fancy sauce, yes. That's what I was gonna say. It's very French to put mayonnaise on it, isn't it?
French fries and mayonnaise are my jam. Okay. Favorite flavor of ice cream, Aliza, is?
Oh, it's
While
hard.
you're answering, I'll tell you a story. Yesterday, I went to the grocery store, and this guy was walking out 1 pint of coffee chip gelato and 1 pint of mint chip gelato. And I just told him straight to his face, I'm like, you're my hero right now. Like, couldn't be beat.
Well, being from Vermont, I should definitely pick something Ben & Jerry's probably, but it's hard to hone in just on one variety. But I will say the more like chunks and like goopiness in there, the better for me. Like, give me the caramel sauce, give me the hot fudge, give me the whole kit and caboodle. Like, let's go.
I love it. Maggie?
And a pint is one serving.
Yes, yeah.
Hold me to that.
I have found my people. Yes.
Yeah, honestly, the Ben and Jerry's is like the best flavors, to be honest. Yeah, actually the Tillamook stuff's good too. We've been doing this vegan thing for since January, but Ben and Jerry's makes the best like non-dairy. It was Oreo, has cookies and cream and peanut butter fudge in it. It's like this combo, like the two best things. Like I think that is like one of my favorite ice creams right now.
We live the plant-based life out here too, and that Ben and Jerry's flavor is so good.
It doesn't taste like other plant-based ice creams. I don't know what they do to it. Maybe it's actually real ice cream. I don't know.
It's always my suspicion when it's too creamy.
Right?
Last question for both of you. Maggie first. You have a tray of brownies. You have the option of selecting from the edge, where you get a little bit of that crust, or from the center gooey section. Which one are you choosing?
Center.
Aliza?
Center, and I hope you underbake them as well. So
What are you topping your brownies with, if anything?
Ice cream.
What flavor?
Probably something chocolate based. Chocolate on chocolate.
Maggie, what about you?
Oh, see, I would go basic vanilla. I don't know.
Do you both like coffee by chance?
Love.
Yes.
All right. So what you do is you take the brownie and you put it in a mug and you top it with coffee ice cream, and it becomes like a mocha as the ice cream melts.
Oh.
Game changer.
Isn't there something where they actually pour an espresso shot on like a...
It's called an
affogato.
Yes, those are good.
Yeah. I'm telling you, come to our Food Fight Friday conversations. This is all we talk about. We can leave running somewhere else.
Good. A different podcast. That would be great. I love it.
Well, Aliza and Maggie, thank you so much for joining us. And to Sven at Leki USA, thank you for putting us in contact with both of these wonderful guests. We really appreciate your time. Maggie, good luck at Hard Rock in 4 to 6 weeks, I think you said. And Aliza, I hope your recovery from Cocodona keeps getting better for you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you.